All right, so week 8, I wanted to take an extra day and break it down. I don't like my video last week, that's why I made an extra one. So took an extra day, made a video, put it up now. There's only 9 games on this slate. So yeah, sorry I didn't say anything about Zeke. At the time when I made the video, they said he was suspended. As soon as they didn't, I was texting my buddy saying like, "Hey, 200 overall yards plus or minus 2 or plus 2 touchdowns," and he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So Zeke and LaShawn were like my main 2 running backs. So I did good. Not good enough. I put a little bit too much into Brett Hundley. I like Tyrod Taylor a lot, but I split on the DraftKings FanDuel due to the price being the same on DraftKings. So my Tyrod LaShawn stack was great. Dak Zeke great. Yeah, throughout Dez, a lot of good picks, but don't need to spend too much time on that. I actually played. Also took another day because I'm playing the Monday lineup, Monday, Thursday. Usually I don't play that because it's so you need like the perfect lineup, but I thought that was easy slate because I don't know how anyone's going to win the Miami-Baltimore game. Like, Matt Moore is going to be throwing. I guess I get Devontae Parker back. Baltimore's not good against the run. So, like, Jay might have a good game. He hasn't had one yet. Like, he had one good game, 133 yards. But on DraftKings, he got you 16 points, but that's it. So, yeah, I don't really care for that Thursday game. So I just stacked the Monday game in a bunch of different variations and flex Jordan Reed and Zach Ertz and all sorts of stuff. So it should be a good payout Monday, Thursday. My Sundays were fine, but who cares? Week 8. So we only have 9 games to play from, so that makes it tough. So first guy, Tom Brady. He's at home. Doesn't matter where you get him. He's good either way. But he's got a pretty decent matchup with the Chargers, but you get a West Coast team playing East Coast football, and I don't know what time that game is, at 1 p.m. Yeah, so 1 p.m. game. So you get a West Coast team traveling to not just East Coast, but New England. Like, that is a drive and a half for a 1 p.m. So that doesn't favor their defense. So I know a lot of people will see, like, Chargers pretty good defense. They just came off a shutout. I used their defense in a lot this week. But I don't think it matters. It's Tom Brady at home against a West Coast team at 1 p.m. So I like them. You just got to be careful because New England's favored 7.5. So, like, chances are they don't need to just keep putting on the points. But I don't know. Chargers always get close in their games. So I like them. I'm going to be paying up for them a little bit. Chargers against the quarterback, though, the only thing I'm scared about, they're 9th against the quarterback. They're good. They're averaging barely over 200 yards, 1.29 touchdowns a game, and 0.7 interceptions. So almost 1-to-1 with 200 yards. That's not going to do anything for a quarterback. Like, that's almost shut down. So I don't like that. So I won't have huge exposure to him. So keep that in mind. If you only play a little bit, if you only play a few lineups, because that's like the biggest question I always get: how many lineups do you play? If you only play a few lineups, there are better choices for a cheaper price. Like the next guy, Dak Prescott. Every week he's been going off. He's got a good matchup. As long as Josh Norman's out, you can also pair him with Dez. A lot of people are going to be on the Zeke train too after last week. But without Josh Norman, Dak's been going crazy anyway. But no Josh Norman. Cousins should be able to throw. And Washington's good against the run. So I don't think Zeke is not going to have the same week that he had last week. But I don't think Zeke's going to just go for almost 200 yards. He gets the volume, so it's Zeke Elliott. He's always in play, but Washington's good against the run. Plus, Kirk Cousins is just on fire lately. So I don't think Dallas can just try to run the ball the whole time. Like, the game flow is not going to be there. A lot of people are going to be on Zeke because of last week. They're going to be chasing those points. They're going to see that they're playing Washington. I don't really like Zeke as much for the price, but I like Dak. He's going to actually have to throw, I think, because Kirk Cousins at home. I think Washington wins this game, and I think it's because of Kirk. So I like Kirk more. But what Deke's been doing lately, it's a good pivot play off of Tom Brady, but I don't think Tom Brady is going to be owned much. So if you play some GPPs, Yeah, Tom Brady is definitely a good one because he's the best quarterback in the league, and he's going to be low ownership. But once again, he does have a pretty hard matchup, so keep that in mind. Carson Wentz, this guy's going to be the chalk. Dak's going to be the chalk too, but Carson Wentz is $100 cheaper than Dak, and the past games in their whole season, the Eagles 28, 34, 26, 27, 20, and 30. That's the amount of points Philly has scored. That's insane. Like, that is insane. And the 20, that was in Kansas City. So they've scored 20 points in Kansas City. Other than that, they have almost averaged 30 points a game. And now they're at home against the second worst team in the league. Like, yeah, that's not good for San Fran. Sorry, guys. San Fran, I'm hoping you guys get 3 or 4 wins this year, but not going to be this week. Carson Wentz is going to be the chalk, and whenever it's chalk, I always have to look at it like, is it worth paying? So Philly is, I think it's minus 13 they came out. Vegas came out, so Vegas is expecting them to win by 13. Philly's probably going to score 30-something points. Like, I just don't see them. It doesn't look like they take their foot off the gas. Like, they are just putting up numbers on every game. So I was trying to all right, well, how can is there any way that I should not play Wentz in as many lineups as I can? The only reason is because San Fran is absolutely horrible at the run, but luckily for Carson Wentz, Philly doesn't really have a ground game. So I'll talk about Blunt and Wendell Smallwood later, but yeah, Wentz should probably be the chalk. He should probably be owned in majority of lineups. If you play multiple lineups, if you only play one lineup, yeah, I don't see a better matchup. Ceiling, floor, everything about it. And now that he's getting rushing yards too, just that's scary. So rushing yards, he rushes every single game. He's got a 55-yard game, a 63-yard game, and then mostly all double digits after that, 20s and in the teens. So he can run the ball and he can definitely throw the ball, and their team is scoring, and he's at home against one of the worst teams in the league. So yeah, that's enough about that. I don't like Drew Brees, Matt Ryan. Until they fire their offensive coordinator, I don't really like Matt Ryan. I don't really like a lot of people from Atlanta, and they're in New York. So I don't care about that. I'll talk more about the wide receivers next. I like Cam Newton. I think he's going to be lower ownership. It should be a higher scoring game, and Tampa Bay's 31st against the quarterbacks. So, and they're horrible against wide receivers too. So that pairs well. He's coming off a low game, and he's away. He's actually been really good away, minus that last game. When you pitch the ball to your guy and he doesn't catch it, and Chicago Bears with a good defense get up on you, and then they can try to just hold the ball as long as they can, and got another pick six. And that wasn't even a pick six. Okay, it was a pick six, but it bounced off Kelvin Benjamin or got tipped, and Prince Amukamara snags it or Dior Jackson or something. Because he got 2 touchdowns that game. So that just wasn't Carolina's game. So I don't expect that to happen again. So I really like Cam Newton in a bounce back game. His price went down, I believe, and his lower should go down. There's Derek Carr next right there. He's coming off a huge game. So usually what happens is, but it was Thursday night. For some reason, you just give it 2 or 3 days and people forget, but he's coming off a massive game. He's at Buffalo. Buffalo's favored to win, so you get Derek Carr. And they lost Lynch, which is probably hurtful to Carr because Jalen Richard's probably going to have a better game than what Lynch is having. I'm going to say Jalen Richard has a better game than any game Lynch had this year. So that probably hurts Derek Carr because maybe they actually have some sort of run game now. Jalen Richard came in and looked good last week, so on Thursday, whenever Lynch decided to fight the ref. But so I like Derek Carr too. He's got a real tough matchup though at Buffalo, but I think it's a decent scoring affair. I would pick the over. I think Vegas had it at 44, 43, something lower, but I could be completely wrong. I like Derek Carr there, and these guys are all the same price. Cam Newton, Derek Carr, and the next guy I like Russell Wilson. They're all 66, 65, 65. So, and then Kirk Cousins is right there at 64. So this is the problem I had last week. Dak, Russell, Mariota, all those guys were like the same exact price. You just have to pick the right one. So you just have to keep making enough lineups, I guess, to pick the right one. That's really all it was. Um, so I think like anytime you have 3 or 4 good quarterbacks at the same price, all in good matchups, one of them is going to be a dud. So you're just picking the right one. Cam Newton has the rush ability. Russell Wilson has the rushing potential as well. I really like it. It's against Houston. They're coming off their bye, I know, but their secondary is still beat up, and they lost J.J. Watt as their pass rush. So I think Russell Wilson's going to be low every week. It's like he's getting low ownership. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know. Every time I play him, I look at his ownership, and it's just nothing high at all. So he's coming off of huge games. His last 4, he's always good in October. His last 4 are 36, 29, 12, 29. So, like, that's amazing. And that 12 was against the Rams and just was an ugly divisional game. So he's Texas 17th versus the quarterback. Russell Wilson has the rushing ability. He's going to be one of my highest owned guys because I think the ceiling, that 30-point ceiling, is obviously there. And especially because he just had 29, 29, 36. So, like, he has this massive ceiling, a good floor, and he's going to have lower ownership. So he's probably going to be my favorite quarterback this week. And it'll give me it won't kill my roster because he's 65 compared to, like, Wentz, Dak, and Tom, all in the 7,000s. But he is $1,000 less than Carson Wentz. Well, almost 1,800. I was way off. But he's almost $1,000 less than Carson Wentz, and you're gonna have way less ownership and I would say the same ceiling. So I like it. But Kirk Cousins, Dallas is 22 against the quarterback. Their last 4 games, Cousins, this is just Kirk Cousins numbers, 30, 20, 32, 28. He's going to be another guy that I'm really going to pick in a lot of my lineups. He's 6,400. It's in Washington. I didn't see who was favored because usually if the home quarterback isn't even favored, then, like, you try to take them. So let's see. This comes up. But yeah, either way, I like Kirk. Their offense is starting to click. Josh Doxson's getting more reps, and Dallas is favored. So you get the home quarterback in a situation that looks like he has to throw at home, and he's been going off. So 30, 32, 28, 3 out of 4 games. And his other one was 20. Like, you're doing awesome when 20 looks bad. So, yeah, I really like Kirk Cousins. I don't think you're going to get him at low ownership, but he's definitely not going to be the chalk. I like Tyrod against Oakland, but the Oakland's defense, they're just not that great. So they're 19 against the quarterback. They're not that great against wide receivers either. Tyrod's good at home. It should be a higher scoring game. So, and he's got huge rushing ability. So I think he was getting like 50 yards rushing every game. So I really like Tyrod Taylor. All right, so he's got a 55, a 53, a 38, and then a few like smaller ones. But yeah, I really like Tyrod Taylor. When you can get a potential 50 yards rushing, I mean, that's a free touchdown. So I really like Tyrod. And then the chalk's going to be Andy Dalton due to his price and his matchup. I think everyone's going to stack Andy Dalton with AJ Green. He's hosting the Colts, and this is what the Colts have done. This is their defense, the points they've given up, just their whole team. 27, 36, 26, 46, 31, 16, 46. I mean, that is horrible. That is absolutely horrible. So I really like Andy Dalton. I'll tell you about a good pivot stack that I like, other than just Andy Dalton, AJ Green, Brandon LaFell. He came back. He's been doing well. So I also like that one. And you can do Andy Dalton, AJ Green, Brandon LaFell. All 3 of them. If you think you're going to get some it looks like they're averaging, the Colts defense is averaging what looks like over 30 points a game to offenses. I'm fine with that. But a stack that I do like is Joe Mixon in there, because when they should put up this many points against that bad of a D, Joe Mixon should be fine. He hasn't done anything recently, and I'll just go into that with running backs. That's all the quarterbacks that I like this week. With Joe Mixon, he just came out and asked if he can get more rushing attempts. I don't know why you would pick this guy that early in the draft. limit his carries, and then like I don't get it. But I like that offensive coordinator. But he only had 7 attempts. I guess the game got out of hand, but 7 attempts, it's not going to do anything. And he still had 48 yards. It's good for 6.9 yards a carry. He had a fumble, but like Steelers defense is really good. Before that, 18 attempts, 17 and 15, and then 7. That's a downward trend, but I definitely think that stops because he brought it up to the offensive coordinator's attention, and he's very cheap. And you're going to get him at low ownership because he's only averaging 8.9 points on DK. His matchup is there. They're absolutely horrible against the run game. India's. And I think it's going to be a blowout. They're 28 versus running backs, and it's going to be a blowout, and it's in Cincinnati. So Joe Mixon is going to be highly owned for me this week, and I think that's a really good way to pivot off of that Andy Dalton, AJ Green stack if you want to get a piece of that action. So I'm good with Andy Dalton, Joe Mixon, just those two. So any way to stack this game, do it. And I'll start back up at the top for running backs. That's my lowest priced. No, Jalen Richard is. Jalen Richard, 4,300. Buffalo is really good against running backs. They're 6 against running back, but Lynch is out and Oakland's favored. So if you need a really cheap guy in your flex or as your running back 2 to get one of the higher owned guys, I would just throw him out there. The volume should be there. And if they are losing, he can still be used in the passing game. So let's go to high owned guys. Zeke at Washington. Washington's 12th versus the running back. They're pretty good against the run. The Redskins should score, and I don't think because of the high ownership, he's coming off a 40-point game, and the game flow might not be there because the Redskins should be able to score just fine. I don't think Zeke gets you this. I don't think he gets over 24 points, and you're paying 92. So anytime you get 20 points from someone, like you're good. You're sitting pretty on that position, but just for his price, I think you can find 20 points with less ownership somewhere else with a higher ceiling because I don't think his ceiling's as high against Washington just because of game flow not being there. So I don't know. We'll see. So usually I just like to talk about some of the biggest price guys just to say like, hey, you don't have to have this guy in your lineup. Like there's better options, I think, this week. LaShawn McCoy, Oakland's 21 against the running back. Buffalo's at home and they're favored. LaShawn's way better at home. Just looking at his game log. It's a good matchup overall. So if you look at home, 23 attempts, 28 points against Denver, 14. And that was against Denver, like one of the best, if not the best, run defenses in the league right now. And then he played the Jets and got 24 points. Those were his 3 home games. So 24, 28, and against the best run D in the league, he got 14. So definitely take LaShawn. He's one of those guys that I think you're still going to get high ownership on him this week, especially because of last week. I said he was going to be the number 1 running back fantasy-wise last week, but then Ezekiel Elliott came off suspension. I said that before Zeke, so oh well, I was close. LaShawn still had a great game. But Buffalo's favored at home, so that always favors the running back, and it should be a decent scoring game. I think Derek Carr can throw against anyone. Like, he doesn't care, so I don't really care for Melvin Gordon. I know New England's not great against running backs, especially pass-catching backs. Like, I understand that, but you just never know what you're going to get with Melvin Gordon. So, and I think Tom Brady does score. So yeah, I'm not big on Melvin Gordon. New England's heavily favored. That never favors the running back on the opposing team, but his pass catching does help. I'm not going to tell you not to use him, but I don't like him for 8,100. I'm going to have zero exposure to him. So same with Mark Ingram. The only thing, like, New Orleans is favored, and he's getting a lot of touches, and he's at home. He's good either way. But Chicago's really good defense, and they're trying to hold the ball as much as they can with Jordan Howard, doing short passes, if any passes, with Mitch Trubisky. So I hope that glare isn't going to kill this video. I don't think anything's helping. All right. So, yeah, I don't really care for Mark Ingram as much. Back-to-back weeks, he had good numbers, so he's going to be a little chalky, but his price is coming up. He's at home and he's favored, so like once again, that always favors the running back. But I might not have any sort of exposure to him whatsoever. I didn't even write down what the Bears were against the running backs because I knew they were up there, and I knew that I didn't really like it. So um, they're 13th against the running back. So he's going to be up there with Melvin Gordon with me. Like, I'm not going to use him because of his price. There's other guys that I like, but I don't play him if you want. I don't care. Devontae Freeman and Jordan Howard, all four of these guys. Only one of them, Mark Ingram's at home. The other three are away. It says Jets aren't good against the run, but they've stiffened up against the run lately. Devontae Freeman, he's away. He plays better at home. So I don't really care for Devontae Freeman. And there is Jordan Howard. I wrote him down originally, but if New Orleans gets out to a big score, then Jordan Howard's not going to be used. The thing is, their defense is good, and Jordan Howard is a focal point of their offense. Last 4 games, 18 attempts, 19 attempts, 36, 21. Like, he's not going anywhere. So I think, and the Saints are 18 against the run. So I think Jordan Howard's going to come out running. I think he's got a great matchup. It's just a matter of game flow. That's the only thing is if the game flow is not there and he doesn't even really get his attempts, it doesn't look like it matters though. That defense is really good. And that defense is really good. So it looks like Jordan Howard's getting his carries every week. So I like him. Last 2 weeks I've liked a ton of running backs. This week I don't like a lot. So far, of course, Zeke, if you could pay for him, you pay for him. Also, this is DraftKings, so you don't have Le'Veon Bell on the slate. So if you could get Le'Veon Bell, always pay for Le'Veon Bell. They're favored against Detroit. Detroit's not good against pass backs. It doesn't matter. The Steelers are just like their offense is clicking right now. Detroit's coming off a bye, but I don't think it matters. Like, Le'Veon Bell you're always going to put him in your lineup if you can, especially because Antonio Brown actually does have a pretty good matchup with Darius Slay, and Martavis Bryant's still over there crying about getting the ball. So I don't know, because people always ask me about the Sunday night games if they're playing FanDuel. I play them and then I forget. I didn't even go over the Sunday night game on my videos. So I'll break that one down a little bit. But next guy here, Chris Thompson. I don't really care for Alvin Kamara real quick just because I think New Orleans is going to be up. They don't really need him. But Chris Thompson, if this is going to be a close game or if Dallas tries to hold the ball, Chris Thompson's going to get in. I don't know why Coach Gruden doesn't I don't know if it's his offense coordinator, if he runs the offense, I forget. But I don't know why, but they're just not letting Chris Thompson play much. So I don't get it. And every week he's doing well. So I like him this week. He's 5,800, so decent little price tag, not too much, but Dallas is 18 versus the run, and he's getting attempts in the ground game, but he's getting targets every week. 7-2, 5-5. He's got 2 touchdowns in that span. He's getting his yards in. So, 150 yards, 105 yards. Then he's getting some rushing and some catching in the other games too. So, he's a very versatile player. He's just so up and down. That's the only thing. You don't know which Chris Thompson you're getting. Are you getting 100 yards and a touchdown, or are you getting just 20 yards, 30 yards on the ground, 20, 30 yards in the air? So, but if he gets you 5 catches or so, 30 yards in the air, 20 on the ground, it's still not bad. It's not going to break you, especially for that price tag. It looks like he's always good for 2x value with a ceiling of 4x value. So I like it. Doug Martin. If Luke Kuechly's out, he's getting his attempts. He's gotten over 15 attempts every game. He got 20 last game. I think it'll be a close game. I don't think Carolina's going to come out here and destroy Tampa Bay because Tampa Bay's offense is only getting better. So I like Doug Martin if Luke Kuechly's out. I know Carolina's number 3 against the running back, but if Luke Kuechly's out, it's not the same. So keep that in mind. And then Blunt and Wendell Smallwood. So they're going up against San Francisco. We just saw how San Francisco got torched again against the run. They're 32nd in the league against the running back. And that's on DraftKings, how their little opponent rank system. And then when you go up to NFL defense for position, rarely do you see that both DraftKings overall opponents rank and the NFL defense per position are the same. And yeah, San Francisco's horrible against the run. So the only thing, and Philly's favored 13. So it looks like it's going to be a Blunt game. I think he's going to be chalk. What's not going to be chalk is Wendell Smallwood, $200 less. Blunt's just not a good runner. Like, he's just not. I don't like him. But he's probably going to get majority of the carries. But Wendell Smallwood, past 3 games, 12, 10, and 8 attempts. So, yeah, downward trend. But if it's going to be a blowout, like, yeah, Blunt should eat up the clock. He just doesn't do anything with it. So 16, 14, 14, 14 attempts. He has 1 game of 19 points. That's it. Like, just because he had a massive run game, 136 yards. So, like, other than that, he doesn't do anything. Like, his average yards per carry, 5.3, 4.8, 2.1. That's going down. And he's had 1 target in 4 games. So I just think he's a horrible running back. I always have. He was just a beneficiary of being a bowling ball with the Patriots getting to the 1-yard line all the time. Like, he just doesn't do that this year. So I think Wendell Smallwood's a better running back. And I like to pivot off of Blunt. I'm not going to play him much. I just wanted to talk about him because a lot of people are going to see that 32 opponents ranking and know that, and just saw that Zeke gashed San Francisco. Philly probably has the best offensive line in the league this year. So there's also that. They're favored. They're at home. Everything about this sets up for Blunt. But I just think Wentz goes nuts, and I'll probably have Wendell Smallwood in more than I have Blunt. I'm going to have very limited exposure to Blunt, and it's only going to be cash games. It's not going to be much at all. Same with Smallwood. I'm not going to have him in much either. It's just if you want to get those pay up for those running backs. But I like Joe Mixon and Jalen Richard more, and they're actually cheaper. So Joe Mixon at 47 and Jalen Richard at 43. I like both of them more than Blunt and Smallwood at 51 and 49. So those are some cheap running backs because I listed Zeke and LaShawn. Like I said, I don't like those videos where guys come out and they're just like, oh, yeah, Ezekiel Elliott, LaShawn McCoy, they should have a good game and you should play them. Okay, cool. Like, that doesn't help anyone. Like, if someone's watching a video and they learn something from that, then they're not going to do well for the week. So on the wide receivers, as I make fun of guys like that, I'm going to talk about AJ Green and Mike Evans. But those are your 2 tier 1 guys this week. So AJ Green, Julio Jones, Mike Evans, Des Bryant. And I'll throw Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins in there. I only like 2 of them, AJ Green, Mike Evans. I like AJ Green more, but he's going to be super chalk, and he's going to be an easy stack because Andy Dalton's so cheap. So I already talked about it. You can pivot off of that with LaFell. You can pivot off of that with Mixon. You can go Dalton, LaFell, Mixon, AJ Green. Like, that's going to be a less than 1% owned stack probably. So you can get full exposure to this. They're at home. They're heavily favored. Indianapolis gives up a ton of points, but they're also not a great Colts also on a great offense, so I don't think Andy Dalton needs to throw a bunch. So, and AJ Green's not as good at home compared to away. He's slightly better away, and Brandon LaFell's back getting targets. I think LaFell's, I wrote it down, like back-to-back double-digit targets or something, the games he was healthy. So he's going to steal a little bit of targets, and I think Joe Mixon is also going to run more, and they weren't able to do that last week. So everyone's going to have Andy Dalton, AJ Green. I'm not going to tell you not to. I don't even know about Vontae Davis if he's ever healthy. Like, he used to be a guy that I would steer away from, but now it doesn't matter. So Julio Jones is the next guy in line on the pricing. The only guy that can stop Julio Jones in the NFL is Matt Ryan. So I just don't play Julio. He's way too expensive. He's not doing enough. Like, I played him on a Sunday, like Sunday night. It is quickly getting dark inside, so sorry about that. But yeah, I don't do Julio Jones because of the price. Turn the light on. And the Jets secondary is good with those 2 rookies, safeties. Had to find the right switch. Yeah, so like I said, Matt Ryan's holding back Julio Jones. I don't like him. He got his late touchdown snag with like 4 minutes left in the game. Their offense looks atrocious. And after they just lost to New England, they got to travel up to the Jets and try to muster a win out of there. The Jets are surprisingly putting points up. And if it wasn't for them making mistakes, like, they could actually win a few more. But end of rant. I don't like Julio Jones here because, I mean, people keep talking about his ceiling, and it's like, you want to play him in a tournament. It's like, all right, so last week he had 24.9, and like I said, he had a garbage time touchdown, which still counts for fantasy points. Like, we love those, but he had 25 points off 13 targets, and they were down as soon as they came onto the field. He has one game of 12 targets when they were down to Detroit. Other than that, 5, 9, 4, and 7 targets. This offense is not the same. They're not good. They're not scoring much, and Julio is not really a factor in their offense, and that's probably why they're not scoring much and doing well. Their offense was completely different last year, averaging 10 points more a game. Like, until they can get it together, I'm not going to pay up for Julio, and he's going up against my Jets, so against two really good safeties, and Julio's good at the deep ball, but I don't like him. I like Mike Evans. He's got a tough matchup, but it doesn't really matter. I put AJ and Mike Evans on the same tier, and then I circled AJ. He's got a way better matchup at home. And Mike Evans also at home, but he doesn't have the same matchup. And Carolina's got a good defense. So I'm going to have a little bit of exposure to Mike Evans. I always play Mike Evans every week. I try to fit him in just a few just because he can get you those 20 points easily with a high game. So really good in cash, and he's also a GPP play because of his ceiling. So I like him either way. I don't like Dez. Josh Norman should be back. I think Josh Norman shuts down Dez this week if he's back. So I don't like him. I don't like Michael Thomas. He has a tough matchup. I don't know if Snead's coming back. I don't really care. This New Orleans offense is different because they don't have to score 30 points a game anymore. Like, they actually have a decent defense. So last year, Drew Brees was like, "Hey, defense, just like keep them to 4 touchdowns, and we have a shot." And their defense is always like, "Yeah, I don't think we can do that." So this year, they're like, "Okay, yeah, we can do that." And New Orleans is actually looking good. So what do you know? But yeah, I don't like Mike Thomas. You're paying for a wide receiver 1 price in fantasy, and you're not getting wide receiver 1 results. So I like him in season long. I like him in even some cash, but he's got 2 games of 20 points. That doesn't cut it in a tournament. It's not consistent, and he doesn't have a high ceiling. So if you ever play him, I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I just always see other opportunities for the price. DeAndre Hopkins, insanely hard matchup at Seattle. Deshaun Watson, I don't know if he's ever been in this kind of atmosphere other than like the bowl games against Alabama, but just like the noise in that crowd, that 12th man down there. I know he's coming off a bye, but like, yeah, I don't like him. I don't like Deshaun Watson. I don't really talk much about him because I don't know. Seattle's defense isn't like what we are used to in the past, but they're still Seattle defense at home. Like, so you bring up Seattle's defense, and they've gotten 20 fantasy points, 16 fantasy points, 7 fantasy points. And they only gave up 7 points against the horrible Giants last week, 10 against the Rams, 18 against the Colts. Like, that's fine. And then they pooped their big boy pants against Tennessee. But yeah, lately, like 2 big games and 1 decent one. Yeah, they're not going up against, the Rams, good offense, but they're not going against too many great offenses. And yeah, Houston's coming off a bye. Play them all you want, but you could play Watson, Hopkins. You are going to get a kind of high price stack at a very low ownership. So that's always a GPP play. I play more cash. So by cash, I just mean small tournaments. So I just kind of consider those cash. So I like to play single entry, low entries. I like to take down the small tournaments instead of trying to get in on a GPP play, because that's just like a boom or bust home run. Like, you need everything to go right to win those. And you could win like $25 for a decent lineup in a big tournament, or you can win 400 in a small tournament. Like, I'd rather take down a few tournaments, or get up there on some. It's just, my profit's gone up a lot ever since then. I started doing that like last year, and I was like, okay, I like playing this way better. So yeah, Dez Bryant, Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen. New England always takes away the number 1 weapon, and their defense is way better for his price. The matchup, I'm not going to touch Keenan Allen. I like Doug Baldwin. He came alive last week. I liked him last week. So I also like Tyler Lockett, but Doug Baldwin got moved around a lot, so he got good matchups. I like him this week because I like Russell Wilson so much. So there's that. What else did I put down in the same category? Baldwin, Alshon, Kelvin Benjamin, and Crabtree. I like Alshon. He's going up against Sam Fran, and I think Carson Wentz. That's going to be an easy stack. You could also play Nelson Aguilar. You could play Zach Ertz, although Sam Fran's really good against tight ends, but it doesn't matter. Zach Ertz lines up as a wide receiver. So if you can pay up for Zach Ertz, pay up for him. Houston's really good against tight ends. But, and I was just talking about Gronk, Houston, Seattle, my bad. Jimmy Graham. So I'm just trying to think of different tight ends, but I'll stay on track. So yeah, you got Alshon, Nelson Aguilar. You can play both of them. I like Kelvin Benjamin. Tampa Bay is horrible against wide receivers. They're 31st against a wide receiver. And I think Kelvin Benjamin, he's got a hard matchup if he plays up against Vernon Hargreaves, but I'm fine with him. I won't play him in too much because he rarely hits those big games. I haven't seen too many good ones out of him. If he goes up against Vernon Hargreaves, I have to check the matchup. If he goes up against Hargreaves, then I'm going to play Devin Funchess instead. But yeah, his last 3 out of 4 games, 17, 16, 19, and 9.5. So that's good. That's good for cash. That's also good for GPP, like 20 points from a receiver. That's really good. So that's fine there. Michael Crabtree, he doesn't go up against Tre'Davious White. Amari Cooper should get all this higher ownership than he should because of last week coming off a 210-yard game. Like, good gosh, Amari. So I'll take Crabtree in that lower ownership, better matchup. And if Jalen Richard isn't running well, they don't really run the ball much. So if Derek Carr is throwing, then I'll go to his biggest wide receiver. That's pretty much it for those middle tier guys. Like, you can put Nelson Aguilar as middle tier. He's 5,500. So either way, same price up. So I'll put Nelson in tier 3 actually. Nelson Aguilar, Taylor Gabriel, Mohamed Sanu. Since Mohamed Sanu came back, like, his game log is just double digits points. Like, other than I think he got hurt in Buffalo, but like 9, 6, 6, and 10 targets, double digit fantasy points every week. If you're looking for a cheaper wide receiver that can get you those double digit points, but also if he snags a touchdown, all of a sudden he's got 20. He's good. He's got a great matchup. Both him and Mohamed Sanu has a good matchup. Julio Jones does not. So I like Taylor Gabriel. I also like Mohamed Sanu. He's the one that got hurt. I think Mohamed Sanu that got hurt. But Taylor Gabriel, he's got a good matchup. He's their slot guy, I believe, and he's got a good matchup this week. So I'm not expecting the same amount of output as I am from Sanu. I like Sanu a lot more than Taylor Gabriel. The Jets are 23 against wide receivers, and that's because of their other 2 corners. Maurice Claiborne's really good, and their safeties are really good, but they're still giving up a lot of stuff over the middle and to slot receivers. So that is good for Taylor Gabriel in his matchup. But they're both cheap, 4,600, and Mohamed Sanu's 4,900, so I like them both. I don't really like too many tier 3 guys, like lower end guys. Josh Doxson, his offensive reps are going up. Ryan Grant's going down, and his potential is there. He's a freak athlete, and Dallas is not that great against wide receivers. And by not great, I mean 26 in the league against them. So I like Josh Doxson a lot. And then there's Brandon LaFell that I talked about, Indy being just absolutely atrocious, 30th against wide receivers. So in order to get some of these higher price guys, like I want a Wentz, Alshon, Zach Ertz stack. Like that's going to be a big stack for me this week. And like AJ Green, LaFell, you can play guys like Joe Mixon, LaFell, and Josh Doxson to get you exposure to these higher scoring games with lower ownership. So anytime you can do that, that's a good move in both GPP. I do some of these moves in cash. And sometimes that breaks the lineup because cash is a little bit more tight play. GPP, like half a point means everything, but everyone's in the same area, so you need like a massive lineup. But in cash, it's like, yeah, if I play a guy and he craps the bed, like that's fine. But if you play 2 of them that they do, you're out of all your cash lineups. So I usually try to stick one guy in there that has a good matchup that makes his ceiling higher. That's still with a little bit of lower ownership. So it all just depends on how you make your rosters. And let's see, tight ends real quick. Anytime you play Gronk, play Gronk. Like, I don't even need to talk about that. The Chargers are good against tight ends overall, but it doesn't matter. It's Gronk. Like, if you feel like you can, I don't know, maybe go lower on the defense and on the kicker, and then throw in like a Joe Mixon or a LaFell or a Doxson or a Sanu and try to pay it for Gronk, I think that's a good move. Chargers are number 3 in the league against tight ends, though, so you got to watch out for that. And then Zach Ertz, the 49ers are number 2 in the league against tight ends. They haven't gone up against great tight ends, and when they did go up against good tight ends, that offense wasn't clicking yet. But now San Francisco is a West Coast team, and they got to go all the way to Philly, who's just absolutely on fire. For a 1 p.m. game, I always like targeting the East Coast teams for the 1 p.m.s against a West Coast team. And like I said, Zach Ertz. So fantasy points a game, Gronk's at 16.9, Ertz is at 16.8. Like, that's, and now they're the same price too, $100 less. So obviously, and they both have really hard matchups. Like, pretty much they're the identical player this week. But Philly overall, like, has I know San Fran, like, is amazing against the tight end, because I said it whenever they were playing Washington 2 weeks ago. Like, I'm not going to play Jordan Reed because of it, because their linebackers are so athletic. But Zach Ertz is used as a wide receiver, so I'm going to have a little bit of exposure to him, especially because I don't think a lot of people will, compared to his last few weeks when he was in the 5,000 range. Now that he's 7,000, yeah, that sucks. Like, he's very expensive, but because I named some lower value guys, you can play him. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, anytime you play this guy, you can. His price is going to continue going up. He's the focal point offense on the Jets, and they're actually scoring some, so it's weird. Every week, he came back, and then he got 8 points, and then after that, it was just 14, 17, 11, and he could have had bigger games every time, but, like, you can say that about almost anyone. So his targets, 8, 11, and 5. And now he's going up against Atlanta. So look at Atlanta against the tight end real quick. I didn't do as much research on tight ends because I kind of already knew who I liked. But to justify some stuff with you guys, Falcons are 5 against the tight ends. So once again, we got the top 3 tight ends all in really hard matchups. So yeah, that I like Hunter Henry for 48 against New England. They're not good against tight ends. And Chargers are going to have to throw, and now Henry's actually getting his targets. I think they finally realized that he was a really good tight end, and they drafted him early. I don't like Jordan Reed. He's 1 tackle away from, being out of the NFL. He's off a huge game, so he's going to have a lot of exposure to him. I don't like him. Washington's not good against the tight end, and they just got torched by Zach Ertz. So I actually like Jason Witten for a mediocre 4,200 price. It's not bad. And then Jimmy Graham is actually getting a lot of snaps every week. He looks like he's doing an upward trend. So 14, 10, 15, 14. I guess that's not a trend at all. But his target's 11, 6, 8, 6. So I like him. He's becoming a main focal point of that offense. So I think you're good with rolling with Jimmy Graham, trying to see where the Texans are at against tight ends. They should be 19. So yeah, Jimmy Graham, Russell Wilson. That'll probably be one of my bigger stacks this week. Anytime you can stack a tight end with a quarterback, it's a lower ownership than obviously the quarterback with the wide receiver. But I like to play different stacks. So I like the tight end stack, and I like the running back quarterback stack in high scoring games and blowouts. So that's pretty much it for tight ends. Like Jason Witten, Cameron Brate's doing great. Like OJ Howard came out and had a huge week. Cameron Brate did his thing again. Like every week he is. OJ Howard eventually is going to be, the main tight end, and Cameron Brate's also going to be used. They're going to go to a 12 personnel, so the 2 tight end set. But he's got a tough matchup with Carolina. But just it's at home. He's averaging so much, lower ownership because of his matchup. You could always play Cameron Brate. What sucks is I just listed the top 7 priced tight ends and no one else. So, my bad. Greg Olson's IR'd, so I just listed the top 8 tight ends. So that's not really cool. I didn't give you guys any value there, but like I said, I kind of already knew who I liked in tight end, and it was Jason Witten, Jimmy Graham, Hunter Henry. But because the Cameron Brate, I don't like Jordan Reed. Cameron Brate, Safarian Jenkins, Zach Ertz, and Gronkowski all have really hard matchups. I'll try to fit in Zach Ertz as much as I can. But yeah, other than that, I don't really care for these tight ends down here. There's just not very many good matchups, and they don't really play a lot. So pretty much as soon as you go past Jason Witten, you get to Austin Hooper, and after that, like, that's it. There's no one else. Maybe if you want to chase points with OJ Howard, but I'm not going to do that. Like, until I see consistency from OJ Howard, and I don't see consistency from Cameron Brate, I'm not going to play OJ Howard. So Jason Witten has a good spot. They should be scoring. They should be throwing. I don't think it's going to be an Ezekiel Elliott game. Jimmy Graham, a good matchup, double-digit fantasy points in the last 4 games with a high ceiling for a tight end. I don't like Jordan Reed. I like Hunter Henry. He's finally doing something in that offense. There's a lot of mouths to feed, but I do think that New England puts up points in this game, and Chargers are going to have to throw. So I like Hunter Henry, 8, 7, and 5 targets. Back-to-back, 2 out of 4 games, he's got touchdowns in, but 42 yards, 90, 73, like, not bad at all. So I don't like his price tag as much. I'd rather pay down for Jimmy Graham. So, and then of course, if you could fit in Jimmy Graham, or if you could fit in Zach Ertz and Gronkowski, you always do. As for the Sunday night game with FanDuel, I'll just bring up the late Monday script. So this one, I already talked about Bell. Like, when you play Bell, you play Bell. There's not really anything to it. So this one, I think we have 2. So this is a Monday night game. Denver at KC. I'm not going to go over that. I don't play Monday nights with the main slate unless I play them by themselves with Monday, Thursday. So I'm just going to go over the Pittsburgh-Detroit game. I don't like Matt Stafford, even though he's got a bye week. He's going up against one of the better defenses in the league. So I don't like him, even though he's at home. It's still in a dome. Pittsburgh's going to go over there. Like, I think Matt Stafford has a pedestrian 18-point game at best. I don't even see that. Like, I give him 16, 17 points. The only reason I put him there is because he's going to have to throw. But I don't think he's going to get you those points that you're looking for, especially with his salary. I don't know what it is in DraftKings, but FanDuel, he's at 7,700, so I want to pay for him. Big Ben, no one really knows what Big Ben's doing, but he's coming up. So it went from 7 to 13 to 16. Depending on if he connects with Bryant, that could always bring his points up. And depending on what Juju Smith-Schuster, the more involved he is with the offense. So, but they're running the ball so much that Big Ben doesn't really need to do as much. So it doesn't matter. Like Le'Veon Bell, 32, 14, 26, 20. But Detroit's really bad against passing back, so Le'Veon Bell's probably going to have another high 20-point game, low 30. His ceiling's up there in the low 30s. His floor is probably 16 to 18, probably for a floor. Like, that's one of the best running backs you can get in the league, floor ceiling. So anytime you could pay for him, but he's insanely expensive. He's 9,400, so it's hard to fit him in lineups. If you can fit him, absolutely fit him with those other guys that I talked about for value. Antonio Brown's got a tough matchup, and Big Ben's on the road. They're going to lean on the run more. They don't run as many plays on the road. So I'm probably not going to play Antonio Brown for 9,200. I keep saying Martavis Bryant, he's like squeaky wheel gets the grease. Big Ben said, like, come here, talk to me, like, we'll figure this out. So I do think for as cheap as you can get Martavis Bryant, 5,300 on FanDuel, that he's worth one lineup. If you only play a few lineups, don't play him at all, because Juju Smith-Schuster, first, Juju Smith needs to pass the concussion protocol. He should, but if he does not, I would fire up Martavis Bryant in a lot. He's been complaining about the ball. Big Ben said he was going to give it to him, and Juju Smith-Schuster is going through concussion protocol. So if he's out, I'm playing Martavis Bryant in a good bit, just for that ceiling. His floor is like literally 0, but he's got a high ceiling because of the deep ball. And I'm not going to play Antonio Brown that much due to his price and his matchup. He's got Darius Slay, who's really good corner, but he's not that big. Neither is Antonio. But yeah, I know Antonio's matchup proof, but he's on the road, which does not matter for Antonio. Like, he's averaging 100 yards a game. And against tough matchups, like he went up against Cincy, 14.5 points. It's all FanDuel. He had a great matchup in Kansas City, 25 points. Jacksonville, he had a hard matchup. Didn't matter. He got 157 yards. Like, he's had tough matchups. So his matchups have been Cleveland didn't matter. Minnesota, he didn't do anything. But then he had Chicago. He blew them up. Baltimore, he had a tough matchup. He didn't do anything. Jacksonville, even with Big Ben throwing almost more interceptions than he did completions, he still went off. So, yeah, obviously, like, I'm not going to tell you not to play Brown, but I think this is a bell week due to Detroit's defense against running backs isn't great, and their pass backs, they're not good against passing backs. So I think this is a 30-point game for Bell and not a 30-point game for Brown. So, and then monitor the concussion protocol for Juju Smith. If he's out, Martavis Bryant steps back into his role of wide receiver 2, and he's been crying about it this whole time. All it takes is that one deep ball, and he's good for 15 points. So that's it for Pittsburgh's side. And for Detroit's side, they're going to have to throw to someone. Golden Tate's hurt, shoulder AC joint. He's doubtful. He's probably not going to play. So now you have like Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay, and I don't think they can run the ball well. I just don't like Detroit in this at all, even though they had a week off. I don't really like them at all. But since they're going to be down, I don't like Kenny Golladay. He had one big game. He hasn't really done anything since. I'd likely take Marvin Jones over Kenny Golladay. I just don't like anyone on the Detroit side of the ball. I'm not going to play anyone in this Detroit offense this week because I will play FanDuels, and I'm going to play Le'Veon Bell, and that's it. Unless, like I said, Martavis Bryant, I'll have him in a few. But yeah, that's it for that. That gives you guys the slate for Sunday night. But like always, comment who you like, who you didn't like, or why. If I didn't explain something well enough, just ask me a question. So hopefully this helps you guys out. Good luck. Thanks.